Um, okay, thank you. Recording has started. So I'm very pleased. Welcome. My name is Christopher Essien, and I lead the offensive security. Just talk about cybersecurity, but we also do cybersecurity, right? This session we are about to have is about what actually happens when companies face real cyber threats, how the first clues usually start in logs, and how defenders can use that trail to lock threats down before damage is done. All right. So if you're curious about how detection works in the wild, if you're a pen tester, you want to see how the blue team inside works. If you're a GRC, I want to see how or what logs are, right? This session is definitely for you. Okay. So I want to welcome on this opportunity once more to welcome you and proceed as we tag along, okay? So yes, a little bit about me. I would say that I'm not your typical just got certification kind of guy. My entire vibe is about real exposure, right? About practical work, putting out the work there and real exposure. That's what my entire vibe is all about. Okay. I believe that what builds strong defenders or what builds cybersecurity professionals is not just theory. It's not just theory, but also the experience being thrown into real world situations where you have to think fast, you have to decide fast, and you also have to like act fast at the end of the day. And at Amdari, I coach aspiring cybersecurity professionals in ethical hacking as well as SOC analysis and detection engineering. And I've been privileged to guide about over 100 of professionals into cybersecurity. And yes, talking about certifications as well, I do hold the PNPT and the PJPT. But what I really value more is the work and the community at the end of the day. And that is what Amdari is here for. All right. Now, today we are going to be Now, this session is going to be divided into four stages, right? Four stages. So the first stage we'll talk about logs, what logs are, we'll understand what is logs, how logs are the CCTV of cybersecurity, and then we'll walk through a real world case scenario that I and some of my interns here at Amdari we did, and I'll just walk you through the report so that you can have a glimpse of how to analyze logs and how logs can play an important role in a cybersecurity or in cybersecurity at large. Next, I'm going to show you the threat detection workflow that companies makes use of, and finally, I'll show you how you can build real world experience through Amdari, right? And please, I don't know, is anyone else ready? Can I see some reaction if you're ready to go into what to have for today? Any reaction, please? Any reaction? All right, thank you. Okay, so I have people flowing as well. That is amazing. Now I want to start this session by just throwing a question to everybody. Anybody can answer, right? Anybody can answer. So let me ask you, how do you catch someone trying to sneak into your building? For me, I have a dog. My dog definitely back. So I want to ask, does anybody have an answer to that? How do you know how do you catch someone trying to sneak into a building? Anybody can just go on, please. Hello, is anybody there? How do you actually catch someone trying to sneak into your building? Maybe you were having a nap and someone just, go into okay, camera. Wise popular say through camera. Fantastic, right? But for me, I don't have a CCTV, but I do have a dog, right? So he normally barks when I hear when somebody's trying to be stealthy or try to, knock, maybe to try to gadget or something like that. But CCTV is actually um I want to say in cybersecurity, logs are like CCTV. right? Logs are what are like CCTV. I'm going to tell you why, but I want to let you know that logs are like CCTV. Now, why are they like CCTV? Because they capture every login, not just login, even if the login was successful or even if the login was failed, right? It captures it. It captures every file access. That is, if for instance, a hacker penetrate into a network, a company's network, maybe a startup's network, and try accessing all those files, is the work of those logs to capture those moments. All right. It also captures every packet crossing your firewall. Okay. It also captures what every packet crossing your firewall. Think of it like Wireshark. When you boot up Wireshark and it's capturing those packets, right? That also can be what a log. Now they may not logs, right? Logs may not scream hacker, like right? They may not be noisy, but they whisper clues. That means that when you see some logs, most times it tends to be rough, and you don't understand what's happening until you start like channeling down the different subjects and titles. Okay. Now the thing is that logs are everywhere. All right. The thing is, honestly speaking, logs are everywhere. I shall go down to this. Okay. Just give me a sec. Okay, cool. All right. So we have the um, detection life cycle from logs to lockdown. We're going to walk through one of the most critical processes in modern cybersecurity, which is the detection life cycle, right? Now, this starts from the log creation down to the detective security response. And for me, every steps involves specific tools, not just like you have to use one tool for everything. Everything has to come with like specific every steps involves using specific tools, involves using different methodologies, just like hacking in the hacking realm as well, right? And decisions that transform raw data into actionable intelligence. Now, the first step or the first we have there is the log collection. This is where data journey actually begins because every endpoint server, every network device, every cloud service generates logs. Essentially, digital footprints of what is happening in that server or what's happening in that network device. Now, tools like Sysmon or tools like Winlog Bits and CloudTrail can help capture those logs from different sources. Now, those tools actually are very healthy because they ensure that we don't miss any vital activity that is actually going on in that server. Now, whether it's a process creation on a Windows machine, or whether it's a login attempt on a Linux server, or an API call in a cloud environment, all these stages, right? Our goal is to collect as much relevant data as possible. And that is the first and important stage of the detection lifecycle to collect as much logs as possible. In the red teaming side of cybersecurity, they always say that the more enumeration you make makes you a better hacker, right? So there's a saying that says the more you know about someone, someone that knows more about someone is definitely going to kill the person. So in blue teaming, you need to capture a lot of logs so that you don't miss out any important activity that was happening at all. Okay. Secondly, we have aggregation, right? So once those logs now are not collected, they move to the aggregation phase. Now, the aggregation phase is where centralization actually happens, right? Logs from various sources are brought together into a single unified platform. Now, I want you to think of this like assembling pieces on a puzzle into one place. So you just see the full picture. Now, tools like Logstash, this is more like when you see all those FBI in movies, they have whiteboards and like tracing, using thread to trace to connect the dots. So this is more or less what's happening in the aggregation phase to know what is actually juicy and what is not juicy at all. Okay, for the correlation, after the logs has been aggregated, we proceed to the correlation. Now, the correlation for me is the analytical heart of life cycle of this life cycle. Why? Because the detection rules, the logic, and also the machine learning algorithms are applied to identify patterns and relationship between those logs that we've captured already. Now, for example, if a user logs in from Nigeria and then within minutes he initiates an admin command from Canada, right? That's like a correlation that we can think that okay, this is a potential compromise because this is coming in from multiple, this is coming from what multiple locations now, right? Multiple locations. Like in less than 10 minutes, you were in this place, and then the next minute you are coming from a different location in general, right? So SIM solutions like Splunk, excuse me, SIM solutions like Splunk, QRadar or Elastic often power these steps using correlation rules that link together seemingly unrelated events to highlight suspicious behavior. After correlation, we have alerting, right? So in alerting, identified, after we've identified something suspicious, after we've correlated it, we'll now like alert it. The alerting phase will kick in. Now, this is the system way of saying, okay, something is definitely wrong now, right? Let's definitely check this out. Alerts are normally generated. Alerts are normally generated based on predefined threshold, anomaly detection, or correlation rules. And lastly, it always ends in response because we don't just want to give an alert and don't have solutions to it. We are cybersecurity professionals, so we should have a response, right? So once the alert is validated, once the alert is validated, we set up countermeasures, right? We deploy countermeasures, and some of these countermeasures might include isolating a host by revoking access tokens or by patching a vulnerability that may lead to that compromise, or even triggering a full incident response process, right? Now, the effectiveness of these steps often determines the impact of the breach, right? The effectiveness of these steps often determines the impact of the breach. So if these steps requires urgency, it means that the impact of the breach is very high, right? So that's simply what it's all about. So moving on, we have let's move to the next slide. Key log sources you need to watch. All right, key log sources, right? You need to watch. Okay. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, cool. Now let's focus on the critical logs sources that plays an essential role in detecting and also in prioritizing security threats. Now I know that every action generates logs, right? We all know that every actions generate logs. But I want to let you know that not all logs are really equal at the end of the day. All right, not all logs are equal at the end of the day. And focusing on the right source can significantly improve your ability to spot suspicious activities before they can escalate into serious incidents. The first log we have here, we have the authentication logs. Now, this authentication logs tracks login attempts across various services like RDP, like SSA. RDP simply stands for Remote Desktop Protocol, right? It's in all the Windows machine. We also have SSH, Secure Shell that works in Linux, VPN, Virtual Private Network that change your geographical location, right? Now, these logs are crucial for detecting unauthorized access attempts or suspicious login attempts or login patterns, sorry. Now, for example, right? For example, multiple failed login attempts in we received a multiple failed login attempts from from different location, from a very outskirt location from our company, right? And then we also saw successful login that could indicate a brute force attack. Now, by monitoring these logs, we can quickly spot anomalies. In case you don't know what anomalies is, you're also going to know what anomaly is today. We can quickly spot anomalies like credential stuffing or stolen credentials being used to access your network, or even a brute force attack. The second kind of log that are also important are the endpoint logs, which provides like details insights into device behaviors, right? Now, tools like Sysmon and Microsoft Defender generate these logs, and it also helps to track activities on workstations and also on servers in an Active Directory environment. These logs can definitely show you process creation, network connections, and also file modifications, right? And also what file modifications that allows you to identify malicious activities, like for instance, the execution of unknown malware or unauthorized software installations, right? The next log we have there is the network logs. You can see that um, network logs, I want to relate it to like traffic data, like traffic data that are collected from the firewalls now, right? Either firewalls or from the proxies or DNS records, right? They are essentially for understanding what is happening on your network and spotting unusual behavior as well. Take an example. When you have an unexpected traffic pattern or data exfiltration that can be detected through these logs, right? A sudden spike in, for instance, a sudden spike in outbound traffic or connections to suspicions or external IP addresses could signal a breach or ongoing attack that is currently happening in your network. So that is why network logs are also very important, because network logs allow security, right? It allows security teams to trace and block malicious network activity that prevents further damage and external threats or internal breaches. And finally, we have the cloud logs. These cloud logs are very critical for monitoring activities in cloud environments. So for those of us that makes use of the AWS, the Azure, Active Directory, CloudTrade, GCP, right? It provides visibility that allows you to assess and take actions into your cloud infrastructure. Now, to wrap these key log sources up, I by focusing on this, right? By focusing on this, it simply allows you to um, monitor critical systems, right? Detect suspicious activities on time, and also to respond promptly to minimize damage. Now, whether it's just authentication logs, or whether it's endpoint logs, or whether it's network logs, right? Each of these logs play a very critical role in security, right? It plays a very um, critical role in security. Now, let's talk about the tools that most companies use to monitor their logs, right? In fact, a very effective log monitoring is crucial for identifying and responding to security incidents in real time. Honestly, for me, I would say that the key to success, right, lies in making use of the right tools for collection, for analysis, and also for threat intelligence. Now, I know we don't have much time, but I'm going to break down some specialized tools that real companies use in log monitoring efforts. Okay. Now, to begin with, we have log collection agents, right? We have log collection agents, which are essential for gathering logs from various sources across the environment. We have Wazoo. Wazoo is very popular, like right? It's a very popular open source tool for log collection and analysis. It is known for its intrusion, for its intrusion and monitoring capabilities as well, especially in a SIEM integration. Afterwards, though, we have NSLog. NSLog, which is also very versatile, which is also like a versatile log collector that also tends to make it perfect for environments, right? It also tends to make it perfect for environments with mixed logged formats. We also have the WinLog bits, right? The WinLog bits that is also tailored for Windows environments, strictly for Windows environments. Moving over to the SIEMs, right? I normally call these SIEM SIEMs. SIEM simply stands for Security Information and Event Management, right? SIEMs, which are critical for centralized analysis and also correlation of logs. I majorly use Splunk. I love Splunk a lot because of how it's very easy to, bring this, because of how easy it is to bring down this, what's the word now? These logs, right? Okay, I just had a call, sorry. So I just put my phone on airplane mode. Okay, so next we have ELK stack. ELK stack simply is just it just stands for Elastic Search, Log Search, and Kibana, right? Elastic Search, Log Search, and Kibana, and it's a powerful trio that's used for storing, processing, and also for analysis as well. For visualizing logs data. Okay. We also have a Microsoft Sentinel. Microsoft Sentinel is a cloud native CM tool that integrates with Azure services to provide intelligent security and analytics that is very ideal for businesses heavily invested in Microsoft technologies. Most companies that makes use of Active Directory, for instance, should definitely use this as well, right? We have the EDR and the XDR. The EDR simply stands for Endpoint Detection Response, and the XDR stands for Extended Detection and Response. Okay, and these tools, the EDR or XDR tools, provides deeper visibility and proactive security monitoring at the endpoint level. Right? We have tools like CrowdStrike, we have tools like Microsoft Defender, we have tools like Sentinel One. And moving over to cloud monitors, we have AWS Guard Duty and Azure Monitor as well. Right? So what it can use to detect logs, right? Real examples, what it can use to detect logs. So logs are not magic, but through pattern recognition, they reveal malicious activities that would otherwise go unnoticed. So you can see brute force. What you can use logs to detect, by the way, you can see brute force attempts, right? Identified by sudden spikes in failed login attempts across accounts, privilege escalation, detected through unauthorized or rapid changes in user group membership, lateral movements. This is where you're moving from a low-level user to a higher level user. Maybe an attacker gained access as maybe as the HR, but his end goal is to be the admin, right? Is to be the CEO, because the higher the privilege, the better attack you can do, the higher the attack you can do. So lateral movements, geolocation mismatch that is flagged by impossible travel, login originated from geographical disparate location within a short time frame, data exfiltration as well. So yes, let's talk about this case study. I promised you I was going to show you, right? I promised I was going to show you a case study that we actually did at Amdari. Now, in this case study, we actually examined a recent incident at Tinker, a tech startup that faced a sophisticated brute force attack that originated from the Tor network, right? If you know what Tor network is, it's simply the dark web, right? And this attack targeted users' accounts that compromised about 34 users' accounts, right? It compromised about 34 users' accounts. That's crazy. 34 users' accounts. The event, uh, uh, this highlighting the need for robust detection. Okay. Now, the event highlights the critical need for robust detection. That the attack spanned multiple countries, right? It happens in multiple countries and it's also leveraged to obscure its origin. That makes the detection and also the response very challenging. Now, the use of Tor exit nodes, right, demonstrated the persistence and the sophistication of this modern attack actually that happened, right? Now, I'm going to show you how the logs unveiled the attack very shortly using the VPN logs analysis, the scene correlation, and the threat intelligence, right? The tinkering incident, right, when it happened, was uncovered through careful logs, through careful log analysis, and the integration of those various cybersecurity tools that used to capture those logs was amazing. It was a joint work from my team and my interns as well, right? So by focusing on those logs with multiple sources, multiple endpoints, the security team was able to connect the dots and uncover the true nature of the attack. Now I'm going to break down those how those logs from different sources played a very different and a very key role as well. Now, the VPN log analysis, right, showed an abnormal number of failed login attempts across different geographical locations, which all attempts routing through poor exit nodes. Now, this was the first indicator. After I saw this, I knew that this is the first indicator of like a potential brute force attack. After seeing that, I knew that okay, something is actually happening. Right. Then next, I I used Splunk, right? I used Splunk, the system to uh I used Splunk to more or less correlate the logs, right? I use Splunk to correlate the logs to check out the failed login attempt, to check out the single user ID, and also to correlate them together, right? Various source IPs as well, and to make sure that to check the timing. I also went for the timing, the location, the amount of login failed attempts, the login successful attempts. I just broke it down in a way that I can see different outputs as much as I want to see as well, right? Lastly, the threat intelligence feeds, whereby we captured logs. Logs were cross-referenced with threat intelligence feeds that identify the source IPs as malicious store exit nodes, right? And then the containment and response action that we did was once the attack was detected, once we detected the attack, we initiated a rapid response to neutralize the threat and prevent further damage, right? We did the following. The first step was to immediately block all identified malicious Tor exit nodes. That was the first step we did. We blocked all Tor exit nodes and suspicious IP ranges at the network perimeter. So IP that was not relating to Tinker's network. Now, this action prevented further login attempts and secured the network from ongoing brute attempts. If it was going to happen, just seized it at that moment. MFA enforcement, right? We enforced MFA through across all accounts, right? Across all accounts, particularly for those identified as potentially compromised. Accounts with MFA not enabled were also reset to ensure that attackers, could not bypass security measures. Lastly, any account exhibiting suspicious activity was temporarily suspended or isolated just for temporary, right? Because this prevented lateral movements within the organization, and also it also minimized the impact of the attack as well. Now, the lesson that I want you to learn from this Tinker report is, first of all, mandatory MFA, right? Mandatory MFA. Let me just put on my lights once more. Fantastic. Okay. All right. So I was making notes of mandatory MFA. MFA is very critical, right? Very critical. MFA simply means multi-factor authentication. Most people call it 2FA as well, right? Multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. And it's very critical for all users' accounts, especially those who has elevated privileges, those who are like the admins, right? Enforcing multi-factor authentication significantly reduce the likelihood of successful brute force account or brute force attacks, right? Secondly, you can see continuous log monitoring, which is like the proactive analysis of logs from the VPN, from the authentication, from the application systems, right? Now, continuous monitoring allows for the early detection of suspicious activity that enables faster response time, in my humble opinion. Excuse me. Okay, and thirdly, we have the effective SIM utilization. Now, to talk about this, I'll just properly configured SIM systems are crucial for correlating data from multiple sources. Integrating threat intelligence, integrating threat intelligence into SIM enhances its ability, right, to detect and prioritize real-time threats. Now, to enhance an organization, right, I always love ending with remediation, right, with remediation, because that shows how cybersecurity cautious I am. Most times I feel like I should go back to not being cybersecurity cautious, right? To enhance an organization's ability to detect sophisticated cyber threats, right? Advanced techniques needs to be integrated with basic detection measures. Now, these methods not only improve detection, but also contribute to more proactive and also to more efficient cybersecurity strategies. The first one on my list here is rate limiting, right? By implementing rate limiting controls, uh, implementing rate limiting controls is very critical, right? Very critical. Why? Because it prevents future brute force attacks and also DDoS. DDoS simply stands for distributed denial of service. Right? It's when an attacker sends so many requests into your network with the sole aim of shutting it down for a temporary time, right? Second we have here is behavioral analytics. Behavioral analytics uses machine learning um, to establish baseline user behaviors, right? To establish what the baseline user behaviors, and then the flags, excuse me, the flags deviation as potential threats. Now, for example, if a user, for instance, right, if a user normally accesses resources from one region, but suddenly he or she starts, requesting for those information from a different region, right? We tend to observe that behavior, right? We tend to like observe that behavior from the log analysis we've just discovered. Thirdly, we have anomaly alert. Anomaly alert, setting up anomaly alerts is essential because it helps in detecting unusual access patterns like data transfer or system misconfiguration or configurations. For instance, if an employee is accessing large amount of data outside the normal working hours, for instance, maybe around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., right? This can be flagged as suspicious, right? This can be flagged as what suspicious. Maybe that's an insider threat currently happening. And lastly, we have networks of segmentation that isolates critical systems and data, limiting the blast radius of the breach. So this is when network segmentation comes in very handy. So if, for instance, 10.10.10.10/24 is currently in a breach, you can segment that network into a slash system and share it so that most product management or product sites won't be affected by the breach that's currently happening. Okay, so basically we've talked about most of what is actually most basically was what we've talked about. We've talked about logs, talk about logs and logs and logs. We've spoken so long about logs, right? And what made this Tinker project stand out? Four reasons. Four reasons why this Tinker project that I did with my interns, why it stood out. One is a realistic project. This project is grounded in real world business scenarios. This was like a startup, right? The Tinker is actually a startup, and they actually faced an attack that could happen to any organization today. Is a brute force attack. Once an attacker knows most employees in a company and have more or less their login credential or their login page, they try to brute force that login page, right? I would love to show you, but I can't access my Kali right now, whereby my sandbox that I created, you can see how many attacks is currently happening in every minute. That's to tell you how many bugs are available in the internet currently, right? So yeah, in terms of reward, this is what makes the project stand out. The real detect, unlike other theoretical cases, this particular project is mainly focused on the real detection methods that relies heavily on log analysis. We use VPN logs, we use SIAM correlation and threat intelligence to uncover the attack and also to identify malicious activity very quickly before the breach or the attack can go before it can escalate. Thirdly, we have the use of threat intelligence enhancements. Definitely, this project can leverage external threat intelligence sources. Like, for instance, we use abused IPDB. We also use gray noise. We use various tools. There's a lot of tools that we use for this project. Three majorly two actually. We use Splunk and so on and so forth. right? Behavioral indicators, not just static IOCs. Now, instead of relying solely on static IOCs, static indicators of compromise, like IP or, for instance, file hashes, this project emphasized using behavioral indicators. When we were analyzing these logs, we manually analyzed it. We use Splunk, we observe the behavior, right? The behavioral indicators. These indicators, for me, the behavioral indicators are very dynamic because they can detect evolving threats, right? That makes the detection system more resilient. Now, if you are wondering, right, if you're wondering, where do you even want to have this kind of real world projects? How do I see a company that's associated with other companies, other startups to do more or less, to do more or less, um, sorry, I was distracted by text. So where do I even find real world projects that would give me business context, and how do you create the kind that actually gets noticed? And this is actually where it comes to Amdari at the end of the day, because Amdari is more or less a business now that other startups tend to link with to do, for instance, a pen test, or not just pen test, a stock analysis, a full stock analyst job or engagement, a threat intelligence engagement, or even risk assessment from majorly startups, right? And I have the best person, right? The best person in Amdari to tell you about this. I just want to tell you thank you for your time. And hi, Victory, if you don't mind, who's stepping now? I'm just going to stop sharing now.
All right. Good evening,
And
everyone.
also,
Can you guys hear me?
I'm sorry, Victory, please, can you also, just sign the attendance? That would be very helpful, if you don't mind. Please just, the link is on the chat box, so just go on and just, sign the attendance. That would be very grateful and helpful for us. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for your presentation, Christopher. That was a very enlightening one. And for anyone trying to gain real world experience, if you're trying to gain experience across these career paths, especially cybersecurity, Christopher was talking about some projects and also talking about you could hear what he was saying, right? Those are real projects, real world projects that actually simulate real business problems. So if you're trying to gain that kind of experience and you're trying to um, you know, transition into either cybersecurity, data analytics, data engineering, business analysis, PM, SOC, ethical hacking, whatever it is, Amdari is the right place for you. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how you can do that in the next couple of minutes, okay? So what's the formula we work with at Amdari? We understand that it takes more than a training for you to for you to actually get the job. Nowadays, if you're trying to get into the tech market, especially if you're in the UK, you need more than your certificate and more than a training, right? You need actual experience. And if you've been job hunting or if you've recently been trying to look for a job, you'd realize that experience is what is very, very important, right? So how does our formula work? You have to be good at what you do. Technically, you should be able to use your technical skills. You should be able to work with these different tools, and you should also make yourself employable. That is what is going to lead to the job offer. So if you're trying to gain a job in any of these career paths, I'm going to walk you through how we give you that kind of experience that makes you employable. Okay. So how exactly does this work? When you come on board with Amdari, you get to work on business problems in the form of projects. Just like Christopher was walking us through how he was able to solve a particular business problem. That is exactly what you're going to be doing on the program. Okay. So you're working on at least 8 to 10 business problems, depending on how long you're going to be spending with us. And these business problems are in the form of guided projects, meaning that you've done this training before. Maybe you've already learned somewhere, you've done some kind of self-learning, but now you want to gain experience in these career paths. You need to work on business problems. You need to work on projects that give you insights as to how to solve these business problems, right? So these projects are guided. You would have a mentor. You're going to also have a coach. A team lead would also be in charge working with you. So if you have any challenges, there's actually someone to reach out to, unlike you working by yourself without feedback. Okay. And some of these projects would also be cross-functional. I mean, if you've recently been job hunting, you'd see on some job postings where they would say that they want you to have some kind of cross-functional experience, right? Being able to work with other teams. Now, you're never going to work by yourself. You won't be working alone completely in any of these jobs. You would always have to work with people, either people within your team or outside of your team, and you need experience to do so. So Amdari exposes you to that level of experience. You have a team too, right? Something that a boot camp isn't going to give you is a team, an actual team, right? So you have that with Amdari, and you'd also be working across different sectors and different industries. So why you're working on different industries is because um when you're applying, you're not limiting yourself. You need to have more leverage, and you also need to have more insight as to how to solve business problems from different industries. So that when you're in an interview, you have enough to talk about. You're not limiting yourself to just one or two experiences. But because you've worked across different projects with different industries, you have a wide range of knowledge of what to talk about during interviews and what to share. And also some of these career paths will be working in different roles for some of them. I mean, a typical example is if you're a data analyst, right? And you check some job postings, they won't rightly say data, we're looking for a data analyst. You could see something like health analyst, financial analyst. These are just, it's still data analyst, but with core focus in other industries, right? So you would have the opportunity to work in these different roles because your experience is also going to span across these different industries. Now, with that kind of experience, you have what to revamp your CV with to make sense, right? So if you're trying to apply for a health analyst role, you have a project that has something to say in that regard. We would also tailor your CV to match that. Okay, so you have what you are talking about, and multiple tech stacks, right? We expose you to a lot of technologies, and these are also industry standard tech stacks, industry standard technologies that are being used currently 2025, right? We're not exposing you to old technologies, and you would be gaining experience working with these tools to solve real business problems. Okay, for for technologies that you've probably not worked with before, you are going to get like a two training session before you start working on these projects. And the reason for this is just to carry everyone along. And we also understand that nobody is a wealth of knowledge, right? You'd have probably learned this thing before, but like you've forgotten it. So we kind of refresh your memory with that tool training session and walk you through exactly how to use that tool to solve the business problem. And then you go ahead working on your project, okay? You're working with teams, you're collaborating on this project with your team like you would do in an actual business setting. So you could see as Amdari as us prepping you for the job market. We're making you job ready in a sense that when you're done with the program, you are ready to handle actual business tasks. Okay, you get on board, you get hired, and you don't feel like you don't belong there. You'd have more confidence to actually carry out your roles. Okay, that is what we are doing for you. We want to be able to give you that kind of confidence after the program, whereby we are sure that we can attest to the fact that you know what you're doing. Okay, that is exactly what we're doing for you. And you know, Christopher is here. You could ask him. He can attest to the fact that within the internship program, you are going to be meeting a whole lot of people. You're meeting different people in the UK, different people from different backgrounds, career paths, just all these people coming together to learn, right? And you do not know where your next opportunity is going to come from. You're working with these guys that you everything is remote, but you're working with them, you're gaining experience with alongside other people that are trying to achieve the same goals as you, right? It's something that it's very encouraging because you're not by yourself. I mean, I was in a clarity call recently, and the two people that came to, gain clarity on that call, they ended up networking, right? Because they were both looking at achieving the same goals in cybersecurity. Both both of them wanted to gain experience in GRC, and they were like, oh, you're interested in this, I'm trying to go into this. And next thing, they're exchanging LinkedIn platforms, and that's just it. Honestly, it's as easy as that. So imagine having that kind of environment where all of you are coming together, learning from each other and gaining experiences together. That's Amdari for you. Okay, now, in addition to the project-based experience, we make you employable. We make you employable in the sense that you should be able to communicate this experience to the recruiter, right? From your CV should reflect you as an actual professional, and your the way you communicate with the recruiter should tell him or her that you're the right person for the role, right? It's common for some people, like you have that experience, but you're not able to have that confidence to talk to the recruiter or tell them exactly what makes you the right person for the role. So Amdari also focuses on making you employable in addition to the fact that we give you the project-based experience, okay? So how does this work? We revamp your CV and optimize your LinkedIn. Now, CV revamp is very important because that's how you get an interview, and it's the interview that lands you the job. So the first thing starts with you gaining experience, which we are going to give to you. Now your CV should be tailored. Okay, so we have a specialist that's just in charge of CV revamp, LinkedIn optimization, the employability specialist. So you'd be working, you would come together with the employability specialist, and they would assist you with your CV, revamping it, closing those gaps and tailoring your CV to the new career path you're trying to transition into. And I would also love to add that your experience in Amdari is going to be on your CV, because now you are working with Amdari as a consultant. You're not just working as an intern. We don't call you intern, right? You're working as a consultant, gaining experience as a consultant, as a data analyst consultant, data engineering consultant, business analysis, so on and so forth, right? That's what's going to be on your CV. So it depends on how long you'll be staying with us, 3 months, 6 months, depending. That's what's going to reflect on your CV. And we can tell you for a fact that this has helped people, right? If you're trying to look for a job and you're in the UK, trust me, you would need something like that, because we're registered in the UK and we're registered in Canada. So a major reason a lot of people come to Amdari, it's more like, okay, I'm looking for UK work experience. It's hard for me to even get an internship role, but I feel like this is the right thing, that this is the right step, right? Because it's better than you wasting time trying to look for that job. Nothing is forthcoming. Everybody's telling you the same thing. Oh, yes, we you have a law on your CV. That's great, but we want to proceed with someone else with more experience. It's common. I talk to a lot of people that give me the same feedback, right? That's what they are getting. But now is a chance for you to actually turn that around with the Amdari Work Experience internship, right? So we also optimize your LinkedIn, because it's one thing for you to say you have something on your CV and your LinkedIn it's not reflecting the same thing, right? So some recruiters actually go through LinkedIn. They would actually maybe a recruiter is looking for a data analyst. Just go on LinkedIn and search data analyst. The first couple of people that pop up, they reach out to them. I can attest to this because it happens. It happens a lot to me, right? So if you're trying to gain this experience, and it needs to be on your CV, from your headshot to your banner, everything is going to be optimized with you and the employability specialist, right? Also, you are going to have mentorship sessions on the program. You're gaining experience from people with actual experience, people that have made mistakes, people that have actually walked the path. So now you don't need to repeat their mistakes anymore. You just need to learn from it. So if you were to take 2 years to actually gain your footing in your career path, now because you're gaining experience and you're learning from people that have actually, we know this stuff, we've done our research, we are trying to shorten the time span for you. We are trying to give you that code, the secret code, right? You don't need to go through all the whole process, taking your time. We've done all that for you. If you listen to our founder story, you get to realize that he spent a long time trying to get this right and now crack the code. So Amdari just gives you that strategy and that leverage. You don't need to go through the whole process anymore. So we give you access to mentors that would guide you, career coaches that would also be able to give you actual insights as to what's going on the inside in terms of these different career paths. So you're learning from people on the job already, okay? Also, interview prep, like I mentioned, you could have experience, but you're not able to communicate this experience in a way that convinces the next person that or the recruiter that you're the right person for the job, right? Some people, I spoke to someone recently and he let me know that yeah, he's actually great at what he does, but that tension that comes during the interview is what he can't seem to get over, right? Because it's like this is your only opportunity to sell yourself and he doesn't want to make a mess out of it. But him not wanting to make a mess out of it just makes him more anxious and he doesn't end up, nailing the interview at the end of the day. That's a problem, right? So Amdari also helps you prepare for interviews, right? You get to have sessions, either group sessions or one-on-one sessions, where we are walking you through these different strategies, how to negotiate your salary, how to answer interview questions, the different techniques on, the seat technique, all these different techniques that you should know on how to go about it. You're going to be walked through the whole process, right? Did I mention that you are going to have access to your team leads? Your team leads are always going to be there for you. If you have challenges, if you're facing any problems, or you're working on a project and you reach a blocker and you're like, oh, you need help, these guys are always going to be there to support you. Okay, so you're not working by yourself, you're not working in isolation, you're working with other people and you have support. Okay, Amdari actually gives you that support. You are also going to get access to a job reference letter. Now, this job reference letter is also, like I mentioned, we're registered in the UK, we're registered in Canada. So if you need a work reference, or if you need to attest, if you need, like you're trying to apply to a job, they're asking you, oh, we need to attest to the fact that you actually worked in this company. We are always going to do this for you up until 2 years after you're done with the program, right? So you could always reach out even after a year or two for a reference letter. And Amdari is still going to provide you with this. All you need to do is reach out and we are going to support you with that. Even if you land a job and you still need on the job support, we will also provide you with this. Okay, at this point, if you want to go over this session again, maybe you want to listen to Christopher's presentation, or you want to gain access to the recording of this session just for future purposes, please fill the attendance form in the chat. It is very important. Okay, so that's in a nutshell what Amdari does for you, and you can see that every step of the way, we are taking into account the fact that we want to make you job ready. Okay, that's exactly what we do, and that is what is going to happen once you are out of the program. So how exactly does it work? This is like a run through of what you should expect as you come on board. Okay, now you're going to be working on projects like I mentioned, right? So these are real business problems, case studies in the form of projects, right? So doing that gives you some kind of insight as to what to expect. It's something that a lot of people complain about. You go to a boot camp, you're trying to do your training, but you're done with that training and you still don't really understand how. There is no context, right? You can't really think of how you would apply what you've learned if that scenario comes up in real life. That's just it, right? So Andari gives you this kind of business problems scenarios where you get to use your technical skills to solve these business problems, and not just your technical skills but also your soft skills. Soft skills in the sense that you're working with other people, you need to communicate effectively. You're going to present after every project, right? You're going to do a team presentation and you get feedback on your project and your solutions, right? That feedback you get to reiterate. That's the only way you learn. You're not learning, you're not just, oh, I did this project by myself. Nobody is looking at your project, no one is answering your questions, and you feel like it's the best you can do. But when you have an extra eye on your work, you get to learn and become better, because now when you get feedback, you just iterate that feedback on your work and you're getting better by doing so. So you're working on this project with people. We break you guys into teams and you're solving these different business problems, right? Also, like I mentioned, you're presenting at the end of every project, and you can add this project to your portfolio. Amdari provides you a portfolio website, so you get access to that by virtue of being an intern with us. And also, you could showcase this project on your portfolio website, showcase it on LinkedIn, right? And also, your CV, like I mentioned, is going to be revamped and reviewed, would give you access to a work reference letter, and you can also use this experience during interviews to sell yourself? I saw a question in the chat. I'm just going to quickly look at that and give an answer to that question. So Emmanuel says, would you say that the just the Amdari experience is enough to land a role, especially if you have no previous related experience? All right. So the Amdari work experience is going to give you just enough experience that you need to actually land the job. So here's the thing you guys should really understand about this, right? It's about quality, not just quantity, right? So there is how you place your case or present yourself to a recruiter, that the experience you like, what you're conveying to him, what you're saying, it makes you sound like you like you're the right person for the role. You've done this thing, you deeply understand the business problem, right? Recruiters, hiring managers, they are looking for problem solvers. And the reason they really bank on experience is because it is believed that the longer you've done something, the better you should become at it. That is why you would see them going for people that probably have 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of experience and all, right? It doesn't mean that having a year of experience is not enough for you to land a job, or even 6 months. It means that you're trying to use a 6 month work experience to land a job would have to do more work in becoming really, really good at what you do. Undeniably good, to the point that no one is looking at how long you've done that stuff, right? I know of people that have landed roles like less than a year of actually getting into that career path. Why? Because they actually put in more effort than the next person. So you know that, okay, you're working on this project. If you go for the 6 months work experience, for example, you get to work on at least eight to eight projects, right? Each of these projects is like you working on an actual business, you're working on an actual business problem. You're gaining that real context and real experience, right? So if you're now talking about this during an interview and you're talking about your Amdari work experience, it's more like you're presenting yourself as a problem solver that has actually solved that kind of problem before, right? So that's what they're looking for. Do you know what you're doing? Can you deliver results? Can you actually attest to the fact that you can do this stuff? If I hire you tomorrow, would you be able to move my business from point one to point two? That's what they want to know. Okay. Yes. So yes, by what you said, yes, I can tell you that 6 months experience is actually enough if you've not had prior work experience. Another thing we would actually do for you is that your previous work experience, for example, when tailoring your CV, a major thing that is also going to be put into consideration is your transferable skills. So that also helps us kind of fix those gaps, right? So let's say, for example, you just transitioned into data analysis, but prior to that, you were in logistics and supply chain, for example. So you being in logistics and supply chain, you have transferable skills that could actually be linked to being a data analyst. And for example, you also get to work on a project as a data analyst with us in the logistics and supply chain sector. So now there is something that links both, right? So it's going to look more of like you pivoting, not exactly transitioning. Same thing goes for most of these career paths, right? So if there's something that we could, transferable skills that links one to the other, it's just something that's also going to be used to fledge out your CV and also, put you out there as someone with actual experience, right? So the program is it's purely remote, virtual rather, and you do not need to commute to any physical location. You're all doing this thing um online, and for timing is very flexible. You just need to ensure that you dedicate at least an hour or two on a personal level to your project. That's you and your project, at least an hour. But collectively, that's you and your team. You're coming together to have drop-in sessions. So drop-in sessions are like where you get to align with your team lead, your teammates on the project. Where are we at the moment? What are we doing next? What's the next step? Need points feedback in the project and all of that. You're going to have that during the program too. And this drop-in sessions is going to be at a time that works for everyone. So you come together with your team lead and your teammates, pick a time that works between you and your teammates, right? That's the time you guys will be meeting. Be twice in a week, 3 times in a week highest, and also the 2 training sessions too. That's also going to be communicated by your team lead, but it's going to be at a time that works for everyone. Just ensure that you're available. Even if you're not available for any reason, all the sessions are going to be recorded. So you get access to this on the Google Classroom. I'll show you what the Google Classroom looks like. Okay, so that's what it entails. The work experience in in summary, right? So if you're interested in any of these career paths on my screen, just give me a thumbs up. Maybe you're into data analytics, into data science, data engineering, BA, PM, SOC analysis, ethical hacking, GRC. Do we have people in these different career paths? I see we have a few people on the call. If you are interested in any of these career paths, give me a thumbs up. I see Chidera. Okay. All right, that's great. We have people that are actually into this career path. I see Emmanuel, I see Stan. That's all good. I would love you guys to take a next step further, right? In the chat, tell me what you're into. If it's data analysis, just put DA. If you're in data science, just give me DE. If you're in data engineering, give me DE, business analysis, BA. I want to see that in the chat, okay? So that when I'm answering questions, I know the context to answer your questions from, okay? All right, so these are the career paths Amdari focuses on. And these are in-demand career paths, right? Career paths that we've done this research, we see that in the next 10 years, according to some reports, these career paths are still going to be in high demand, okay? So you're safe, right? I'm not saying that if you're out of any of these career paths, you're not safe, but for those of you here, I can guarantee you that for the next 10 years, you're going to still be in demand. So far as you're constantly learning, you're constantly upskilling, and you have it, like you're also trying to adapt to the newest tech stacks, like what's happening newly. You're trying to adapt to everything. Trust me, you are in the right hands and you're safe. Okay. All right. So Daria has success stories. We actually have consultants that have either landed jobs in the program or actually attested to the fact that the way they came in and the way they left, there was actually a major difference. And what's that difference? Confidence, right? Technical capabilities. You know, coming in, no, not really sure of if you can actually do the job or not, or if you know what you're doing or not. Then in a couple of months you've worked on projects and now you feel like if you land the job tomorrow, you'd be great at this stuff, right? Because I know I've spoken to a couple of people that literally tell me on the call that, see, I've learned this too, but if I'm being honest, that confidence is not there. So even if I get an interview tomorrow and anything should happen and I land the job, honestly, I don't think I would last in that job of 6 months or 3 months. They say this to me. So you can imagine that you know you want the job, but deep down you know you're not ready for it. So Amdari makes you ready. And we have people that can attest to the fact that this program has actually worked for them, right? So if you want to watch any of these, you want to listen to our interns talk, you want to hear them out, you could search for Amdari on YouTube. You're going to see us. You check out the YouTube shorts and you see it there. You go on Instagram, search Amdari, you'll see all these videos there. You'd be able to listen to them and check them out, right? You could also search Amdari, you'd see our website. It's the first website that's going to pop up if you search Amdari, right? Amdari. Search for any of that in on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere you want to search, you'll be able to watch all of these, okay? All right. Now we have a cohort starting in August, right? On the 9th of August. So if you're trying to get in, you're trying to gain real world experience, you feel like 2024, 2025 rather is your year, and you're like, oh, you want to make that change, you want to turn things around, right? You know, dedicating 6 months is not going to hurt you. Dedicating 3 months to actually gaining experience in the career path you're trying to make cool cash out of is not going to hurt you at the end of the day, because it's a win-win. Okay, so I'm going to what's all of these, what's involved with getting into the program. That's what I'm going to walk you guys through now. Okay, like I've mentioned before, but passively, we have 3 months and we have a 6 months work experience internship. So if you're interested in either going for 3 months or going for 6 months, this is what it's going to cost you. I'm going to break this down so you understand what it all entails. Okay, so first of all, you might be asking yourself, what's the difference between 3 months work experience and the 6 months work experience? I would soon be taking questions. Okay, so just give me a few more minutes. The 3 months work experience, you know, you're trying to do something quick. You quickly need to add like few projects under your portfolio, get back into the job market and start looking for a job. right? You go for the 3 months, gain that experience, and become job ready. You'd get to work on at least 4 or 5 projects for the 3 months. Then we have the 6 months work experience. So the 6 months is a more immersive work experience where you're working on more projects. But in terms of quality and everything you stand to gain, both of them are the same, right? The only difference is the number of projects you get to work on. Okay. So for 6 months, you're working on at least 8 projects. And these projects are all unique projects across different industries, different career paths, and different business problems. So that gives you a whole range of insights as to what to talk about during interviews. Okay. So we're currently also running a discount. If you're trying to get in, this is actually the right time. I'm going to say that because I can't really say what you would find the pricing at either next month or a couple of months from now, right? Or a couple of weeks from now, okay? So currently running a discount and you get to pay the discounted amount of £390 for the 3 months work experience. And the best part about this is that you could actually pay an installmental, you could make an installmental payment of £130, right? So you split the 3 months work experience of 390 into three major installments. That's £130. You secure your slots ahead of August. Make sure that you've already locked in ahead so that any price change is not going to affect you. Then next month you follow up with your second payment, and finally a third payment of £130. Okay. Same thing goes for the 6 months work experience. If you want to go for the 6 months work experience, rather than paying the £900, which is the actual amount, you get to pay the discounted amount of £750. Now, for these 6 months, you can spread it across 5 major installments of 150. So that's £150. Secure your slot ahead. Then next month you follow up with another 150, and that goes it for the next 5 installments. Okay. So my colleague has dropped the link in the chat if you're trying to secure slot, or maybe you've already attended some of our sessions. You just needed that final, um decision, just something to make your final decision. This is something that you might actually consider. Okay. So these are all the career paths that we focus on: data analytics, data science, data engineering, business analysis, PM, and all the rest. So if you're interested in any of them, it's something that you actually love to hop on. Okay. Now, for people that would want to start with the 3 months and probably extend while in the program, it's also an option for you. So before I take any questions, I would like to show you guys some extra perks that you're going to be getting access to while you're on the program. Okay. So if you're an intern, or if you become an intern with Amdari, you're going to get access to a couple of other of other things. Let me show you what that looks like. I mentioned something about you getting access to a portfolio website. So Amdari provides you with a portfolio website. All you need to do, let me search this up. Like I mentioned, you could literally search up Amdari, and the first, I don't have opened that up before, that's why it's opening again. All right, so let's look at this. Let me show you guys what the portfolio looks like. So all you need to do for this portfolio is update it with your recent information, whatever is required, like your picture, a little bit about yourself, your title, your work experience, projects you've worked on. So when you work on projects, you're going to upload it there. I'm yet to upload mine. Your work experience and education, you upload all of that and fill the necessary details. Let me show you what the front end of this looks like. So this is actually an actual, it's a real portfolio website, and you're going to have access to this for life. Basically, it's yours. Okay, so you're always going to have access to it even after you're done with the program, right? That's for the portfolio website. And you could share this on any platform you want to share it on. You could even copy this link after you've updated your portfolio. Copy this link and add it to your CV when you're applying. So when it comes to applications, it's all about strategy and being smart. Okay. Now, if you have external projects outside of Amdari, you could upload it here, right? You could upload external projects. You could also upload internal projects that you're working with us. Okay. Another thing you're going to have access to is the job board. Job board is for applications, right? So you could see that we also consider and support you for this, right? So if you're trying to apply to jobs, this is frequently updated with relevant roles in the industry that we focus on, right? So you come and also be able to apply to these relevant roles in these different career paths, all from different platforms like Flex Jobs, GitHub, Simply Hired, LinkedIn, Well Found. They're all in one space. And finally, something else you're also going to have access to is the Learn platform. Okay. All right. You'd have to, when you are, okay. All right. So when you are an intern with Amdari, you'd also be given access to this. I think mine had expired, so I'd have to renew that. So I've showed you every other thing that you're going to be getting access to. Let me quickly show you all what it looks like from the intern's point of view. Okay, so you would be working with Google Classroom. Like I mentioned, it's purely virtual. Everything happens in Google Classroom. Okay, so you'll be added to your classroom and whatever project will be assigned to you on the Google Classroom. So let me show you guys what a sample of a project looks like. All right. At let's look at this. So you see that everything is updated here. Let's look at what a project looks like. Now you see this is Medicare solutions integrating asset. This is a project in the health sector. Okay, I think this is a presentation. So every project has actual context, like I mentioned, business challenges, actual tools that you're going to be working with, and objectives. So you see the tool stack here. Your team lead is going to give you, let you know how you'll be able to access most of these tools. Okay, so whatever tools you're working with, you're going to understand how to have access to it. And every project is also there's a timeline for all projects, and also your deliverables. Like you can see here, it is also tracked. So you're going to have you ensure that everything is actually being tracked by us. That means if you are in a particular stage with your project, you need to ensure that you're on top of it. Okay, we are also going to ensure that we are following up with everything, right? So you have access to people that would actually be able to support you. Now it's time to take questions. So if you have any questions for me, I'll be taking questions now. If you're trying to gain access and if you're trying to join the Amdari work experience, my colleague has dropped the link in the chat for you to secure your slots for the August 9 cohort. Okay. So do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? You could go ahead, raise your hand, and I'm going to give you audience to ask your questions. All right. I'm looking if there's anyone that has asked a question in the chat. So go ahead and ask your questions if you have any. If you also feel like you need to have a more in-depth conversation with us, right? So you could book a clarity call. My colleague is going to drop that link in the chat. You get to book a clarity call where we would be able to answer your questions more in depth. So we have a question, Asas Sunday. Your hand is raised. Go ahead. Let me know if you could unmute yourself so I give you audience. Can you? Let me check. Okay, I don't think I have
Yeah,
permissions
good
for that.
evening.
Okay, yeah. Hi,
Good
good
evening.
evening.
Yeah, my name is Osa Sunday. I want my
Okay.
areas of concentration regarding business and management and project management as well, because I'm coming from accounting background. I have a little experience concerning programming.
Okay, you're
And
trying to transition into project management, right?
yeah, yeah.
All right. Have you done a training in PM?
No, no.
All right. But have you done anything, even if it's a self-training? Okay.
Yes, of
Emmanuel
course. I've gone
says
through, not with PM, but with a consultant.
okay. All right,
Yeah.
that works. Right. Yeah, that works. So coming on board with us means that you're coming to work on actual business problems and projects in project management, right? And you learn exactly how to be a project manager end to end. You're working on projects end to end and handling this project with your team. That's what it means. Okay, so the question you're trying to ask, do you are you trying to know if you fit in, if you're eligible for the program or not? Is that what
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, do you have like an idea of these tools that you're going to be working with, even if it's like 50% or tools in PM, like your Trello, Jira, Confluence, and some of these tools?
Yeah. I have experience with Jira. We use
Yeah.
Jira. No, we use Jira before.
So that works, okay? Now, for other tools that you may not know how to use, if we have a project that requires you to use that tool, like let's say Microsoft project, for example, you're going to be walked through how to use it. But because you already have foundational knowledge with what you have, it'll be easy for you to pick up with your project, right? So we'd still walk you through how to use some of these tools, like
Yeah.
just a brief kind of tool training session where you get to understand how to apply these tools to solving your business problems. So at the end of the day, because you have some kind of foundational knowledge.
Hi everyone, good evening. I guess Victory must have had a slight network issue, hence why she dropped off. So we will just give her a little moment, if you don't mind, for her to join back in. Let me get her back on the call. Okay, while we wait for Victory, does anybody else have any questions or they need more clarity? I have dropped the clarity link in the chat box. I will drop it again so we can book a free session where we have conversation with our experts in case you want to have your you want to switch your careers in your tech, you want more information about how Amdari would help you land a job, whatever questions you would like to ask, just book this session and everything will be answered for you. Okay, I guess Victory is back.
Yes. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, Victory, we can hear you.
All right. So I was talking to Osas before I went off, and I was trying to explain that you you would be able to pick up in the program because you already have some kind of previous experience and you've probably done a thing or two before. So even if we expose you to anything new, because you have that previous experience, it's going to be easy for you to pick up, okay? All right. Whoa, whoa. Stan, your hand is raised. Please go ahead. I'm not sure people can fill the attendance form. Well, it's been sorted. Speak to success rates of analyst roles. All right. So for this question, Emmanuel, I think recently we've had some of our, let me show you one or two of our consultants in the cybersecurity sector that have been able to land jobs. All right. So yes, we do not guarantee, we are not saying we're trying to give you a job. We are making you job ready. And the only difference here is that you working on this project, applying to these jobs, and trying to gain this experience makes you job ready. So when you're applying from a point of, okay, I have what to actually talk about this time if I get an interview. So the confidence is there. You have to actually talk about, okay? So it's not like we can ensure that you become job ready, but we are not saying that we are going to give you a job. We're not guaranteeing that, right? So yes, I can tell you for a fact that you gaining the experience working on this project is going to put you in a position that makes you stand out from the next person that's looking for the same kind of position, okay? So I want to show you a conversation where one of our interns shared that he got a job, and it was actually, okay, I think, all right, it's a video. It's a video actually. I would have shared that if not for want of time, but they are all on YouTube. Okay, so Emmanuel, I would actually advise that you book a clarity session so we really walk you through that. Please again accept the. All right, but Emmanuel, have you filled the attendance form? At least we'll be able to reach out to you from there. I would say we should have like a more detailed conversation to walk you through some of these things because we've already spent some time on the call. So just let me know if you've been able to either book a clarity session or fill the attendance form so that we'll be able to reach out to you. Okay. Okay, does any other person have any other questions before we call it in? Because we've already come to the end of this session. If you still need further, okay, he said he still, yes, we give references, Chidera. We do give references. So you can request for a reference letter up until 2 years after you're done with the program. We'll still be able to provide that for you. Okay. So whenever you need it, just reach out. Like I mentioned, Amdari is registered in the UK, registered in Canada. So that reference counts as your work reference if you're trying to break into the UK tech market or any job market, right? So it works and you could count on it. So yes, provide you with that too. Manuel says that this still persists. Okay. I wonder why. Let me try opening it from my end if I'll be able to do so. Okay, so I can see that I have access to fill the attendance form. I think you need to copy the link and paste it in a different browser, right? So that could be an issue from your browser. So just try copying it and pasting it in a different site. Or if you're in any of our communities, just give me a thumbs up, Emmanuel, because you'll be able to reach out to any of the admins in that community if you can't directly fill a form here and book a clarity session. So we attend to you outside of the scope. So does any other person have like a question, you want to clarify something, you're not quite clear, or you need any further clarity? Does anyone have that? Okay, neither have I. Whoa. So Sarah hasn't also been able to fill the attendance, the book a clarity session. All right, Toby, how else can we actually do this? What about the attendance form, guys? Have you been able to fill that? Let me see if I can book a session with the link. Okay, I see that I can fill the attendance form. Not sure why you cannot, right? Even clarity session. Okay. Emmanuel, that's the link you're using, right? I just clicked on it and I can actually, it's taking me to Calendly to book a session. So I don't know why you're having that issue. Can you unmute yourself? Are you at where you can? Okay, you've done it now. All right, that's great. That's great. All right, Sarah, if you also need to have that conversation with us, you might want to go through the route of booking the clarity call rather than filling the attendance if you can, so that we would be able to, drop off from this session. So let me know. You've unmuted. You could speak, right? Let me hear from you. Sunday or SAS. Hi, Sunday. Have you also been able to book a clarity session with us? I just dropped the link again. So you might want to use that and book a session with Amdari. All right. So I would love to believe that everyone here has been able to either book a session or fill the attendance form. And I just want to thank you all for taking out time to join me this evening and join my colleague that presented earlier. At this point, I'm going to wish you all a very lovely evening. Thank you so much once again, and have a wonderful day, guys. Bye. Bye.
Straight.